September 1959. Tucumcari, New Mexico. A gas station on Route 66 at the eastern edge of the desert. The bank manager arrives at noon. The sheriff brings the padlock. Earl Mason loses the station his father built in 1934. His son Tommy watches from the garage doorway with a wrench still in his hand. 11 years Earl has run those pumps alone. Gone in 3 minutes. At the second pump, a man in a tan Stetson stops pumping gas. He sets the nozzle back in the cradle. Nobody recognizes him yet. Here is the story. Mason's service sits a quarter-mile west of the Tucumcari town line on the south side of Route 66. 2 pumps, a small office, a 2-bay garage with a concrete floor and old oil stains, a hand-painted sign above the door, Mason and Son, EST, 1934. A red Coca-Cola cooler on the porch, a radio in the office window playing Patsy Cline. Earl Mason is 52 years old. He has the hands of a man who has held a wrench in them every day since he was 14. Gray at the temples, a burn scar across his right forearm from a transmission fire in 1951. His father, Wallace Mason, built the station with money saved from working as a track walker for the Santa Fe Railroad. Wallace died of a heart attack in 1948. Earl took over the next morning. He kept the station alive through the Korean rationing years, through the long winters when the road went quiet. Through the year, his wife Doris was sick, and the doctor bills came in a stack 2 inches thick. He paid them off 1 envelope at a time. He sent his only son Tommy to New Mexico State University last September, engineering, the first Mason ever to go to college. Tuition is $150 a semester. Room and board, another $70. Earl has been paying it from the pumps. In April, Phillips 66 doubled their wholesale price on every station east of Albuquerque. In May, Earl missed his first mortgage payment. In June, he missed the second. In August, a letter came from the First National Bank of Holbrook on bank letterhead. Final notice. That September Friday at noon, the bank manager drives out from Holbrook in a long black Buick. The sheriff of Quay County follows behind in a county truck, with the padlock on the seat beside him. They pull up at the pumps, just as a man in a tan Stetson is filling a battered red pickup with regular. The bank manager steps out. He does not introduce himself. He walks past Earl into the office. He sets a folder on the counter and reads aloud from a typed page in the voice of a man closing a ledger. Notice of foreclosure. Mason Service Station, Tucumcari, New Mexico. All operations cease at 12:05 p.m. on this date. The property reverts to First National Bank of Holbrook pending sale. Tommy comes out from under a truck in the second bay, wrench still in his hand. His coveralls black with grease. The sheriff stands at the office door with the padlock. Earl sets his rag down on the counter. 8 more days, he says. Tommy goes back to school in 8 days. Let me work 1 more week. The bank manager closes the folder. 12:05. He turns and walks out to his car. At the second pump, John Wayne, 52 years old, in a tan Stetson and a faded denim work shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms, sets the gas nozzle back in the cradle of pump number 2. He does not move from beside his pickup. He does not lift his hand to his hat. He stands very still and watches. The bank manager walks back to his Buick. He does not look at Earl. He does not look at Tommy. He opens the driver's door and sets his folder on the passenger seat and pulls a handkerchief from his pocket and wipes the dust off his glasses. The sheriff stays at the office door. He shifts the padlock from one hand to the other. He looks at the ground. Earl Mason stands behind his counter. His hands are flat on the wood. There is a coffee cup beside his elbow. The coffee has gone cold. Tommy comes up beside him. The wrench is still in his hand. He sets it down on the counter very carefully. Pop. Earl does not turn his head. Pop. What do we do? Earl looks down at his hands, the hands he learned from his father, the hands that built a transmission for the Tucumcari fire chief in 1953 and a carburetor for Father Joaquin's 49 Hudson in 1955. And changed the oil on every Greyhound bus that came through the eastbound line. You go back to school, Earl says. I'll figure it. Pop, there's no station. "You go back to school." Tommy stands there a long second. Then he turns and walks out through the bay door into the white sun. He stops by the empty grease pit and stands with his back to the office and looks east at the long road that runs to Amarillo. At the second pump, John Wayne sets a $5 bill on top of the gas pump. He weighs it down with a small stone from the gravel. Then he walks across the apron toward the office. He does not hurry. He does not look at the sheriff. He walks the way a man walks when he means to ask a question and does not yet know if he wants the answer. The sheriff sees him coming and steps aside. Wayne stops at the office door. "Mr. Mason." Earl looks up. He knows the face. Every man in America knows the face. But Earl Mason has the kind of mind that, even in the worst hour of his life, does not give a name to a man in a Stetson because the man is wearing a Stetson and a denim shirt and could be any rancher between here and the Arizona line. "Yes, $5 on pump 2. Take it. Take it and go." "I'm not. The station is." Wayne reaches into his pocket. He sets a second $5 bill on the counter beside Earl's coffee cup. "For the next fella," he says, when he comes through. Earl looks at the bill, then at Wayne, then at the bill again. "The station is closing in 2 minutes. I heard." Wayne does not move. He stands inside the office doorway with his hat low and his hands at his sides. "Where are you watching from? Drop your state in the comments. I want to see how far this story reaches." The radio in the office window is still playing. Patsy Cline, "Walking After Midnight." Earl reaches over and clicks it off. The silence is sudden and complete, except for the sound of the bank manager closing his car door out on the apron. "How much?" Wayne says. Earl blinks. "How much what?" "How much to keep the doors open?" Earl looks at him for a long second. "Mister, I don't know who you are, but I don't take charity. My father didn't, and I don't." "It's not charity. It's a question." Earl looks at the counter. His hands are shaking a little. He folds them together to hide it. $1,140, 6 months back mortgage, plus the August fuel bill from Phillips. $2,300 even. He says the number the way a man says the price of his own coffin. "And then what?" "Then nothing. Then we keep the doors open. Tommy goes back to engineering school. I work the pumps. The road comes back next spring, when the snowbirds run east." "You believe that?" Earl looks at him a long time. "I have to." Wayne nods once. Then he turns and walks back out across the apron. He passes the sheriff on the doorstep and does not look at him. He goes to the Buick. The bank manager has the engine running. Wayne stops at the driver's window. He does not knock on it. He just stands there. The bank manager rolls the window down 2 inches. He does not turn off the engine. "Yes, you're foreclosing on this man for $2,300. Sir, this is bank business. You're foreclosing on a Korean War widow's husband for $2,300. Sir, I don't know who you are." Wayne pulls a long brown leather wallet from his back pocket. He opens it on the hood of the Buick. He counts out $2,300 bills onto the warm black metal of the hood, one at a time, slow enough for the bank manager to count along. The bank manager stares at the money. The sheriff at the office door does not move. Tommy, standing by the grease pit with his back turned, hears the bills snapping onto the hood and turns around. Earl sees it through the office window. 23, Wayne says. Even. He pushes the stack across the hood toward the open window. Now you write him a receipt, paid in full, today, right now, standing here. The bank manager looks up at Wayne for the first time. The closed, bureaucratic face has gone soft at the edges. He has begun to recognize the voice, if not the man. "Sir, receipt," on bank letterhead. Now, the bank manager turns the engine off. He gets out of the Buick. He walks around to the trunk. He opens it. Inside the trunk is a small black briefcase. He sets the briefcase on the hood beside the stacked bills. He opens it. Inside is a stack of First National Bank of Holbrook letterhead, a black fountain pen, an ink bottle, and a small brass stamp. He writes. He writes the date, September 18, 1959. He writes Earl Mason's full name and the address of Mason's service station. He writes the amount, $2,300. He writes, paid in full, mortgage current through April 1960. He signs his own name. He stamps it with the brass stamp. The ink is red. The smell of it carries on the hot, dry air. He hands the receipt to Wayne. Wayne does not take it. Give it to him. The bank manager walks across the apron carrying the receipt in front of him like something fragile. He stops at the office door. The sheriff steps aside again. The bank manager goes inside. Earl looks up. The bank manager sets the receipt on the counter beside the coffee cup. He does not say anything. He turns and walks out. Outside, Wayne is folding his wallet back into his pocket. The sheriff lifts the padlock and looks at Wayne and does not know what to do with his hands. He is 60 years old and has been the sheriff of Quay County for 22 years, and he has padlocked 31 stations in his career, and he has never seen one unpadlocked at the door. Wayne nods at him. Sheriff, drive home. The sheriff puts the padlock back into his county truck. He gets in. He drives east on Route 66 in the direction of the courthouse. He does not look back. The bank manager gets in his Buick. He starts the engine. He looks at Wayne through the windshield. Wayne is not looking at him. The bank manager puts the car in gear and pulls out onto the highway and turns west toward Holbrook and drives away. Earl comes out of the office. He has the receipt in his hand. He stops at the edge of the apron. He looks at the receipt. He looks at Wayne. He looks at the receipt again. His mouth opens and nothing comes out. Tommy walks across from the grease pit. He stops next to his father. Pop! Earl hands him the receipt. Tommy reads it. He reads it twice. Then he looks at Wayne. Have you ever had someone hand you back the thing you thought you had already lost? That moment changes everything, doesn't it? Wayne walks toward his pickup. Earl follows him. Mr. Wayne. The name lands in the dust between them. John Wayne. Earl Mason looks at him for a long second. My father took me to see Stagecoach in Albuquerque in 1939. He drove 190 miles to see it. He said it was the best picture he ever saw in his life. Wayne touches the brim of his Stetson. He had good taste. Mr. Wayne, I cannot accept it isn't a gift. Sir? Wayne opens the door of his pickup. He pauses. It's a loan, $2,300. Pay me back when the road comes around. There's no interest, there's no schedule. Send a check to my agent in Encino when you can spare it. Charles Feldman. Famous artists. Beverly Hills. He takes a small black notebook out of his shirt pocket. He writes the address on a blank page. He tears the page out. He hands it to Earl. Pay it back. That's the only condition. Earl takes the page. His hand shakes once and then steadies. Mr. Wayne, I will pay you back if it takes the rest of my life. I know you will. Wayne gets into his pickup. He pulls the door shut. He starts the engine. It coughs once and then settles into a low rumble. He puts his hand on the steering wheel. Then he leans back out the window. One more thing. Earl steps closer. That boy of yours. Wayne nods toward Tommy, who is still standing at the edge of the apron holding the receipt. Engineering school. Don't let him quit. The country's going to need engineers more than it's going to need movie stars. He puts the truck in gear. He could have driven west to Holbrook with the bank manager and never said another word. He could have left the receipt where it was. He could have written a check and mailed it from Encino in the morning. But instead, he reaches one hand out the window and grips Earl Mason's hand once. Hard. The way men gripped hands in 1934 when there was nothing else to give. Then he lets go. He pulls the pickup out onto Route 66 and turns west. The dust rises behind the rear tires and hangs in the afternoon light. Earl Mason stands at the edge of his apron and watches the pickup until it is a brown dot on the long straight highway. Then he stands there a long time after the dot is gone. Earl Mason paid John Wayne back. It took him 6 years. He paid him in pieces. A money order for $40 in November 1959, a money order for $60 in March 1960. A check for $100 after the Snowbird Run in April 1961. Letters from Charles Feldman's office every time, signed by a secretary. acknowledging receipt. Tommy Mason graduated from New Mexico State University in 1962 with a degree in mechanical engineering. He went to work for Sandia Laboratories in Albuquerque. He married a girl from Las Cruces in 1964. In the spring of 1965, Earl Mason mailed the last money order, $110, to the Encino address. A week later, a thick envelope came back from California. Inside was every money order and every check Earl had ever sent, returned uncashed, in a single brown envelope, with a typed letter on plain paper. The letter was 3 sentences long. Earl, I never cashed any of it. The loan was paid the morning your boy walked across that stage in Las Cruces. Keep the station running. J.W. Earl Mason ran Mason's service until 1981. He retired at 74. Tommy bought the property from his father in 1965. The same year, the uncashed money orders came back, and signed it back over to Earl as a gift on Earl's 60th birthday. The transfer contract still has both their signatures on it. In 1979, John Wayne died in Los Angeles of cancer. He was 72. He never spoke of the gas station in Tucumcari to any reporter. He never wrote about it in any letter. Charles Feldman, his agent, died in 1968 and took the file with him. In 1992, Tommy Mason, by then 62 years old, retired from Sandia, donated 3 items to the Tucumcari Route 66 Museum on the corner of Route 66 and South 1st Street. The first is a heavy black iron padlock on a steel chain, Quay County stamping on the side, never used. The second is a black and white photograph taken on September 18, 1959, by Doris Mason with a Kodak Brownie. It shows Earl Mason and a tall man in a Stetson standing beside a battered red pickup at pump number 2. Tommy is in the background, holding a wrench. The man in the Stetson has his hand on Earl's shoulder. Neither man is smiling. Both men are looking at the camera, as if they were not sure they wanted to be in a photograph. The third is the 1965 transfer contract, Mason to Mason, with a brief handwritten note in the margin in Earl's hand. The note says, "Owed to John Wayne, paid in full by the man himself, September 18, 1959. The display sits in a glass case under the museum's south window. The sun comes through the window every afternoon at 3 o'clock and lights the padlock and the photograph and the contract for about 20 minutes. Then it moves on. A small placard beside the case reads, "Donated by Thomas W. Mason in memory of his father Earl Wallace Mason, 1907-1989, and a stranger who stopped for gas in 1959. If this story reached you, do me a favor, pass it on. Share it with a veteran in your life. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. There are more Duke stories coming. And unfortunately, they don't make men like John Wayne anymore."